Welcome back to the Real Podcast. I'm Dan. This
I'm
is Drew. And we are here today to talk about self-dialogue and self-talk and what that means to us and how we think it can help you in your journey to find your best self. And what I mean by self-talk or self-dialogue is what you're telling yourself in your head as you go through your day and your life. A lot of people, I feel like this can be their boogeyman, and it really just sets themselves up for everything in their day to just fail when you're just telling yourself like, oh, I'm not good enough, oh, I'm going to screw this up, oh, I look ugly, oh, I'm not attractive enough to do this thing, or I'm not smart enough to do this thing. And you just constantly beat yourself down. And I feel like so many people just set themselves up to fail with the way they talk to and about themselves in your own head, not even to other people. Before you even open your mouth, what are you saying? And I think that's a really powerful thing for us to go over. And we're just going to discuss that today.
Yeah, so I wrote down, I guess, my definition of what self-talk is for me. And it is conscious thought plus unconscious beliefs is your self-talk, or I guess your self-identity. So that is your conscious thought and your unconscious beliefs about yourself. And both of these things work together. The way you can change it is by changing your conscious thought. Your conscious thought will change your unconscious beliefs over time, or in other words, you fake it until you make it.
Yeah, and we talked about that before, the faking it till you make it. Like, that is really self-talk, like at its cores. What are you telling yourself?
Who are you trying to convince?
Right.
You're trying to convince you.
If you can convince yourself, you can be whatever you want to be, as long as you're physically capable of it. But I mean, if you can convince yourself that you're mentally capable of it, then you are.
Yeah, and the biggest thing in your conscious thought is to make sure that you're not a critic for yourself, because you can't expect anyone else to not be a critic if you are your biggest critic. And you have to understand faults. And I'm not saying you shouldn't do that, but you should be a coach and not a critic.
Right. You need to be your own hype man, because there might not be anyone else out there to do it for you. So you have to do it at least for yourself. You have to at least be there for yourself and be your own hype man and get yourself mentally prepared for whatever situation you're about to put yourself into, whether it's a new job or a new relationship, anything. You need to hype yourself up to be mentally ready, and put yourself in the headspace you want to be at for the upcoming situation or event, and not down talk and beat yourself up before you get there, because then you're just setting yourself up to already think about how you're going to fail. And if you're focusing on failing, you're going to lean towards failing.
Yeah. If you look off the trail, you'll run off the trail.
Exactly.
That was literally my next note.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it was. If you look off the trail, you run off the trail. I think we've talked about that before, but I am going to say it again because it's one of my favorite things. So, in anyone who's ever ridden motorcycles and have been taught any lessons about riding motorcycles, or if you're a skier, they kind of have the same thing. So the saying for motorcycles is look off the trail, run off the trail. And then for skiers, if you're going down the mountain, the only thing you're thinking about while you're on the skis is don't hit a tree. You're going to hit a tree because that's what you're looking for, is the tree. So if all you're thinking is stay on the path, then you're going to stay on the path because that's where your focus lies.
Yeah. And there is the hard part of self-talk is when there's outside talk that influences your own self-talk. When you let other people's opinions get to you, haters,
nobody gives a fuck about you.
Yeah, nobody gives a fuck.
And I mean that in the most liberating way possible.
Haters are always going to hate, but just don't give them the authority to shape who you are to yourself, because they shouldn't have that right. And so my son used to get bullied when he was in daycare, and I'd always ask him, like, he'd get told like that he's stupid or something, and I'd be like, "Are you?" And he's like, "Well, no." It's like, okay, then why does it matter that they say that? Like, I know this is a silly example, but it's true. Like, why are you letting something that's not true get to you? And if you are letting it get to you, then you're giving them what they want, and you're letting it convince you that you are that way when you're really not. So if you can be a bigger hype man than the haters are hate men, then you can overcome anything mentally, and you can overcome those challenges that are external and trying to beat you down from the outside. It's a tough thing to do, but if you can get the resolve in your mind, that you are the coolest person, and not in like a prideful way, but just have a reasonable amount of ego, that you are good enough and smart enough and capable enough to accomplish whatever is before you, and just start lead yourself with your self-talk into the mindset you want for the task ahead.
Fake it till you make it.
Fake it till you make it.
Now that nobody gives a fuck on you or about you, I'm sorry, has marinated for a moment, I will expound on what I mean by that. And I said this to my sister one time because she was really worried about what other people were thinking about her.
Yeah.
And I think if we can take some great wisdom from the older generations in our lives, is they've realized that people don't care as much as you really think that they do. They don't care what kind of car you drive and what clothes you wear and what house you live in. Nobody really pays attention to you that much. And the ones that do love you so much that it doesn't matter what clothes you wear or car you drive or house you live in or anything that you do in your life, they just love you regardless. And they're going to choose to be there. So when I say nobody gives a fuck about you, that's what I mean. Quit worrying about what people think, because no one's even paying attention to you. They've got their own set of problems, their own set of goals and accomplishments and successes that they're looking for in life. So let them do their thing and you do yours.
Right. And on the well, is it true, like what they're saying? The real answer is to live a life beyond reproach, so that haters have nothing but admiration, because they honestly wish that they had that thing that you present yourself with themselves. And if you could do that to where they can't sling anything but slander and lies against you, and just rumors, because
You should start using the slides.
slies.
Yeah.
Just people slinging slies at you.
Right?
Then they've got nothing to say, and then you can confidently know that it's just lies, and that they have such negative self-talk that they have to spew things at you to try and bring you down to their level, just because misery loves company.
The truth is really the greatest way to live, because you don't have to remember anything then.
Right.
Unless you forget the truth, and then it doesn't matter anyway.
You don't have to
It
keep-
wasn't significant enough to remember.
If you live a life of integrity, you don't have to keep a story straight.
It's easier that way.
It's easier. You don't have to remember how you described it that one time to
Right.
someone else, but integrity is the honest answer there. But another thing is, there's no potential in the comfort zone. A lot of self-talk that prevents you from doing things is anxiety and depression. You telling yourself that you're not good enough, or it's going to suck, it's going to be uncomfortable, it's going to be awkward. There's just no potential sitting in your comfort zone. You have to break out. You have to do those awkward things. You have to push past that wall of anxiety, that wall of depression, by not letting those dark or unsavory thoughts tell you who you are. And you have to pick who you want to be. You have to pick to be the hero in your own mind, the hero of your story, be the main character,
The protagonist
of your life. And I don't mean blindly be like the main character, that no one else in the world matters, but their opinions don't have to matter, especially ones that don't benefit you progressing yourself. That's not to say don't take honest criticism from loved ones,
Right.
but use that to
You
your
should have
advantage.
accountability partners
Yes.
anyway, and those are the people that you take criticism from.
Yeah, people who you go to specifically for criticism.
It doesn't have to be a contract, and it doesn't even have to be something that you discuss with them, but there's some people that whenever they offer me advice, I listen up and I try to hear what they have to say and understand it. And then there's some people that whenever they offer advice, I let them offer their advice, and I'm not rude about it, but I'm going to forget about it
Right.
immediately
If
after.
you can be thankful for someone calling you out on something, then you have a good accountability partner.
If I don't
or a
want my
loving
life
person.
to turn out the way that theirs is, then I will not listen to their advice. And that's a good place to start with
That's a
advice.
good.
If you want what they have in life, then listen to what they have to say. And if you don't, then don't listen to them. That's including your family members like moms and dads and grandparents. If they're where you want to be in life, maybe listen up. And if they're not, then you don't have to do everything they say as long as you're an adult.
Right. If you have a broke parent, like meaning they have no money, obviously, and they're trying to give you financial advice, that's probably not the person you want to take financial advice from. But back on to the topic of self-talk. If you can change, just picture your life now. If you could have, if in your head you were the hero or you were who you want to be, but in your mind, if you could project your self-image, not the self-image you might give yourself now, but the self-image you want to give off. Imagine projecting that into your day-to-day life on how you really envision yourself of who you want to be. Man, if you change your perspective on how you see yourself and how you see the world, your life's going to change. It's going to really come together. Like if you can change your perspective to change your reality that much, it's going to be it's going to shake you up. You're going to be shook.
Do you do affirmations?
I do and I don't. I guess I don't do like cards or like sticky notes. I know that works for my wife. She's gotten those cards before, and to me they make no sense. But I
had
do
a sticky
do
note
it.
on my bathroom mirror at one time, and I read it every morning when I brushed my teeth. And it was a quote from Jim Rohn, and he said, "Anything that you can, or anything the mind can believe and conceive, it can achieve."
I agree with that.
So I stuck a sticky note, and every time I brushed my teeth, I would just read that to myself, and that's essentially what affirmations are. Or it could be even things about yourself. But it's a really, really good tool to put in your toolbox during any personal development journey because your subconscious mind will start to believe it. Like the most powerful two words you could ever say is I am. And even thinking it is a powerful thing because whatever comes next, whatever comes after I am, your subconscious mind believes that. And whatever it believes, you have to have the conscious thought and the unconscious belief in order to develop your correct self-talk. And affirmations are weird whenever you've never done them before, but it's like learning to speak another language, so it's going to be weird for a little while. If you've never done it, then it's going to feel weird when you do it, when you have positive self-talk. And I think my big rule for that is if you wouldn't say it to a kid or if you wouldn't say it to your spouse, then don't say it to yourself. If you wouldn't say it to a kid or to someone that you love, don't say it to yourself either.
I can agree with that.
It's the wrong thing to say.
Yeah, I like the I am statement. Like, what was it? Muhammad Ali said, like, I am the greatest of all time. And he just repeat that and chant that to himself all the time. And I don't do like affirmation cards, but I do tell myself over and over in my head what I want to achieve or who I believe that I can be.
It's eye on the prize, baby.
Yeah, like when I'm running on the treadmill to hit a goal for how many miles I run and I'm getting side stitches and it sucks and my mind is just like, quit, come on, you did good enough today, it's okay, you can stop. But my goal was however many miles, and I've done good for my average, but I'm not at my goal for today. I just keep telling myself over, like, I'm the motherfucking best, I can do this, and just over and over and repeat it until that next 2 miles is done, and then I'm there, I'm at my goal. And if you can get a leash around your mind and really get it into shape and control it, you can really revolutionize your life. If you can, like we said, make yourself the protagonist of your mind and project that into your day-to-day, I think you could really see a huge difference in your life. I know we both have by doing that.
Yeah. The Christians in the Bible, it says there's life and death in the power of the tongue. And that's pretty important. I mean, that's a significant, profound thing to read. That there's life and death in the power of the tongue. So what you say has power over what happens in your life. That's manifestation.
And not just what you say to other people, even though that is also
what
true.
you say to yourself.
What
as
you
well.
say to yourself.
Most importantly, probably. You can't help other people if you can't help yourself.
Facts.
The last thing I had was every thought that you put into your mental realm is a piece of the puzzle that you're creating that's your life, or it's a thread in the rug that you're weaving, or however you want to put it, whatever metaphor you want to use. Every thought you put into that realm, though, is you manufacturing another piece to that puzzle that that you're using to put your life together. So it's important to think about that. You're putting pieces of the puzzle in there, and some of them are just the sky in the background, and they don't have birds in them or anything, but they're still essential to the completion of the puzzle.
One thing I heard or read, I can't remember now, but I have it written down here, is people will never rise above their opinion of themselves. So if you limit yourself to an idea in your head, then how can you expect to come above it? You have to set no limit on what you can achieve in your head so that you aren't stuck in your mind, which controls everything else, to what you're able to achieve. If you set no limit to what you can achieve, then
my dad has a quote
you're limitless.
Kind of like that.
Yeah.
And he said, under fire, you will only rise to your level of training, not your level of expectation. And he's an instructor for countless topics in classes in law enforcement. And that's something that he came up with over the years. Under fire, you'll only rise to your level of training, not your level of expectation. So you can watch Jackie Chan movies all day, and you can watch Bruce Lee movies all day, and you can watch UFC all day long, but when you actually get in a fight, you're still not going to fight like those guys because you've never tried to do it before. So your self-talk is training also. Train your brain to be what you want your brain to be, not what it just becomes.
Right. And optimists and pessimists die the same way, but they live their lives differently. So just think about that. We're all going to die the same way. It's just, you have to choose how you want to live it. And I'd rather have a good relationship with what I tell myself in my head than otherwise. So I hope you got a lot from what we've discussed today. I know I have. Just reflecting on these things always helps me, and I'm going to continue over the next week in our journey of self-improvement to try and apply better self-talk, because there's days where I don't give myself the best image I deserve in my head. But I hope that you will all those listening, will take this to heart and apply it, and hopefully be able to love yourself a little more in your head. And thanks for tuning in.
Thank you, guys.
Be sure to like and subscribe. And until next time, let's be a little bit better and a little more real.